everybody. I'm David Noblit, and I serve here at the Storehouse, which is the house ministry of St. James Church. If you'd like to know a little bit more about the Storehouse, you can visit our website. I'll put it on the bottom of the screen for you to see, but the address is www.thestorehouse.homes. That's www.thestorehouse.homes. If you visit that site, it'll give you some general info about who we are and what we're all about. So Ted and Gail are spending the day together today. So Ted's heart's all aflutter. So he asked me if I'd take his place and speak to you for just a few minutes on the topic of serving the church. So I guess if I'm going to talk about any topic, I've got some things that I could say about service. I do have some experience with it. I've been serving here with the Storehouse and St. James Church since it started in Ted and Gail's barn, I guess almost 14 years ago. And I also spent about 26 years serving with the U.S. Army and the Air Force. So first of all, we're called to be the hands and feet of Christ. There's great churches across the country and the world that are, they're doing a wonderful job of spreading the gospel and being the hands and feet of Christ. But in order for them to achieve their goals, they need people behind the scenes that keep things on track. By design, those of us who are typically behind the scenes in the day-to-day work of the church, we prefer that it stays that way. We've chosen that because we're the behind-the-scenes type of people, and that's where we like to stay. However, I do want to give a quick shout out to everyone out there that's been serving their local church faithfully. The church really can't function, and your pastor can't do what he or she's been called to do without your commitment. When you come alongside your pastor and the rest of the staff at your church, you do make it possible for the body to operate the way that it's intended. I'm always reminded of my mother when I say things like that, because I think my mother is the perfect example of a servant in church. She's been serving her local church for years and years, and she just steps in and she just does whatever needs to be done, whenever it needs to be done, and she just continues to show up time and time again without fail. So I think maybe my desire to serve comes a lot from my mother. So when it comes to serving your local church, though, there's just a few points that I'd like to touch on to encourage you and to give you some ideas as to how you can be most helpful. So first of all, like I mentioned just a minute ago, show up. If you're not there, you're not useful. If you want to be a servant, you have to first and foremost show up on a regular basis. People need to know that they can count on you. So no matter how big or small the job is that you do, you're a necessary part of the workings of the church. If you're not there, then someone else has to stop what they're doing in order to cover your job. Also, everybody has some type of skill that they're good at. So develop some skills that are useful and use those skills to help build the church. I don't know, you might be handy with tools. You might be good at construction, so you could jump in and work on a project around the church. Maybe you're good with kids. You could volunteer in the child care department. Maybe you have some audio-visual skills, or maybe you're technically proficient with computers, or you're just not afraid of technology. That was my case. I was the only one that wasn't afraid to find out what happens when I push that button. So I ended up in charge of the tech department. Most of the large churches have a trained staff to handle all of the tech stuff. But you small churches out there, you're trying to keep up with today's technology, and a lot of times you just have some guy that's willing to give it a shot. That was our case. Don't be afraid to learn something new in order to be a blessing to others. The main reason I took on the job of running sound and making these videos with Ted every week is because there wasn't anybody else around willing to try it. So I guess just look for ways to be helpful and take care of your pastor. Identify any problems that you see and remove them. If there's an obstacle, get it out of the way. Also, anticipate what the pastor is going to need and then meet his needs. That reminds me a lot of Pastor Jack. Pastor Jack Woloshyn was part of St. James Church quite a few years. He's truly a pastor at heart, and that's whether he's leading a congregation or not. He's just a pastor through and through. He shared with me once that he works up an outline and prepares a sermon every Sunday morning, whether he is intending to teach it or not. He just shows up every week and he's ready to go if needed. That's really the epitome of the point of showing up. And it's also a great example of my next point, which is stay steady. Be a pillar in your church. When people see you staying steady, it helps them to remain that way as well. And when you help remove obstacles or quickly solve some kind of a problem that comes up, it allows everyone else to stay focused on their own calling. Also, part of staying steady, and an important part of staying steady, is to keep your word. This one doesn't require a lot of explanation. So if you say you're going to do something, just do it. If you say you're going to be somewhere, be there. Be a pillar. Be the person people don't have to worry about. They can always count on you being there. Now, I think I should probably point out that staying steady doesn't mean that you have to be an immovable object. You need to be open to moving where you're needed. The goal here is to serve the church and to be the hands and feet of Jesus. So don't get so stuck in one area that you're most comfortable that you miss an opportunity to serve where you're really needed. Today is probably a great example of that, because anybody that knows me knows I'm really most comfortable as the person behind the scenes. We used to joke on the tech team after we build our sound booth that I'm so introverted that I had to build literal walls around myself in the church to feel comfortable. So when Ted and Gail asked me today if I would do this little video, it really pushed me quite a bit out of my comfort zone. I could argue all day that that's not my calling. I'm supposed to be the one behind the camera. I'm supposed to be the one recording someone else teaching. And then I'll go ahead and do whatever editing and small amount of polishing needs to be done in order to get this video uploaded to the internet so you can all see it. But the point is, if you're really a servant of the church that people can depend on, you have to make sure that you're ready to fill the role when it's needed. So that takes me to my last point, which is go with the flow. In any group meeting, large or small, you can never completely predict which direction things are going to go. In fact, here at the Storehouse, we kind of pride ourselves on the fact that we don't get in the way of where the conversation is going to lead us. We just sort of let things flow where they will. So when you're serving your church, you need to be prepared to change course when necessary, because things don't always go smoothly. I'm reminded of Colonel Sam Berenger. He's spoken at St. James Church many times, and he likes to repeat the old military quote that's something to the effect of, "No battle plan survives first contact." Some people like the version that's credited to Mike Tyson better. It's a little more simple. He's just been quoted as saying, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face." The point is, things change. If you're going to effectively serve your church and be helpful to those around you, you need to be okay with change. Don't complain, just roll with it. Focus on being part of the solution, not on being part of the problem or just pointing out the problem. These videos that we put online every week, they're a great example of going with the flow and changing course when it was necessary. We started doing these videos in March of 2020 because of the COVID pandemic. We were suddenly forced to stop meeting in person, and Ted needed to come up with a way to keep teaching remotely. If you go back to those first few videos that you can still find on the St. James channel on YouTube, you'll see that we had some trial and error, but we eventually got to this format, and this is what we use for our weekly videos now. And they seem to be useful enough that we kept it up after we started meeting together as a group again. Ted and I get together on Zoom once a week, and we put these videos online for anyone who might need a little encouragement. So that's it. When it comes to serving the body of Christ, it doesn't have to be all that complicated. I'm sure someone's been a pillar in your life before. Just become a pillar for someone else. Show up on a regular basis. Get involved in something where you can help. Stay steady. Be the pillar that everyone knows they can count on. And don't fear change. Be ready to step up and keep things rolling in the right direction, even when things aren't going the way you expected. You'll be a better person for it, and the body will definitely benefit from it. We just talked the other night at our Wednesday night Bible study about doing things that would make God smile. That's really it. So that's all I've got for you this week. God bless you, and thanks for listening. Ted will be back again next week. Bye-bye.